almost 3.5 years. So our videos inside of our YouTube channel is really accumulating, and this is our YouTube channel, folks. And you can go onto youtube.com, simply search Community CPA, one word, Community CPA, and then you can pull us up to look at all these videos we have. It is all educational. We're trying to be entertaining, right? You know my little efforts in that, but you know, after all, we're accountant. You know, the boringest person on earth is accountants. They don't have any imaginations. They're like historians. They really just go by the facts, the number, and the number is so boring. So these people, they have no imagination. So I don't know how to perform. I only know that to give you the knowledge I really felt very important to you. I know you may think that, well, estate planning, I don't make any money. What are you talking about? I don't need it. No, stop right there. And you need it. The reason is because you will die. You know, as long as you are not God, who will never die, and you are going to die one day, and you need to at least understand it, even if you choose not to do anything. So my goal today is just kind of bring you into this area of estate planning. It is such a big subject. Literally every training I go to, it is a week long on estate. You can tell how little I can give you right here. But I'll give you in a very plain language. I'll give you in very easy understanding. I just want you to understand what is out there so you can utter the right word when you talk to your attorney and when you talk to your accountant, and or when you are here ready to do 1041 tax for some dude who passed away that related to you and you are just concerned, right? So YouTube channel is the hub of our knowledge. We give away our knowledge free on YouTube channel. There are times folks call me and I'm so busy I don't have time, and they also don't want to pay for services. This is a good place to come to get familiar with what you want to know. You type into the search box right here, and then you'll find everything. So estate, just type into that and say press enter. Then you will come up with all the estate topic that we have ever done, okay? And estate didn't really change a lot in the last 2 years, but of course if you talk about 2004, it changed a lot. But no, we're not going that far, and you're not dealing with someone dead on that year, aren't you? So you're dealing with people who might pass away today and the future. So this is where we bring you the knowledge, and we hope that you're really gonna learn one or two things from this hour you spent with me. And not entertaining, but knowledge saturated to help you to be more savvy when you work with people. And of course we have our website here, folks. You can literally make appointment with me if you like my spill of knowledge here, and if you think that I can give you one or two important pointers to lead you or guide you to the right direction. And you come over here, you can click appointment and check out my calendar. I'm right here, and you can click me and know what time is available that you can book. So it is all kind of listed in the yellow color. Those are the time available. And you notice that, you know, my available time goes into 8 p.m. We do have California clients. You know how their time goes. So the time difference, so we make ourselves available to different time zones. So that's why we have a late hours for the appointment. But of course for me, I am so well known for the appointment side of things. So now let me switch to our presentation. Then I want to talk about my books. It's called Appointment with Ying. All right. Let me get my PowerPoint out for you. There you go. So this is our today's topic, estate planning for small business owners. You know, I want to say estate planning for small business owners because I am trying to attract those who are out there goes, I don't have money, I don't need that. And then those are the people. If your answer is that, I want you to come to this webinar, really learn what I am saying here. I know it is important. So this is the book. This is like my book I wrote in 2019. And you realize that the book title is Appointment with Ying at 8 a.m. And I'm proud to announce, I'm not really a morning person, so 8 a.m. is really early. So that's probably my first appointment for real. But I had my appointment goes as late as next day morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And that's not even once. There are times, taxpayers or our client were in such a situation that they either will stay up waiting for me to open the door at 8 a.m. or they need to talk to me right away so they can sleep. So with that said, and I do accommodate our clients, making sure that I'm available. So I do a lot of appointment. My first book is at 8 a.m. representing people starting up a business. So I always say that if you want to start a business and if you love to read simple English and knowledge-based book, that is my book, Appointment with Ying at 8 a.m. The book is not hard to read. It is really plain English, just like what I'm saying right now. English is my second language, folks, and I'm not a native speaker. They're big words. You know, the words they used to describe President Trump, some of those words I don't know. You know, I remember there was a word about describing, Chris Christie was describing him as a child. There was a P word starting, and I still haven't really checked the Webster to figure out what that word is, but I know it is spoiled rats. That's what he meant by saying. So those are the words I don't understand. I don't have big words, folks, and my word is very simple. So if you read my book, it's easy to go. And I am publishing my second book. It's a 10 a.m. How to Grow Your Business. So I am writing a third book called How to Expand Your Business. So that is 2 p.m. Then 6 p.m. is my final book series for Appointment with Ying. That is How to Retire. And trust me, I don't have any word in that book yet because I'm not there myself. But I am at 2 p.m. stage in terms of my mindset and also community CPA itself. So this is really the journey of ourselves as well, not just our client. So we walk with our clients, and the longer we're on the path, the more sophisticated, successful clients we have. So that's why we have the ability to give you those knowledge that how people grow, how they go through merger and acquisition. Now there is there's a whole movement of merger and acquisition out there, folks. If you haven't really heard someone doing that, you are literally not in the business world. If you are into business, you know what I'm talking about, right? All right, so no responsibility disclaimer, standard disclaimer, just to try to make folks understand this is a free webinar, and right or wrong, good or bad, it is your judgment. But when you make very important decisions, try to engage professionals to have their endorsement on it instead of just go by internet. Internet is a free place. Overall, in the large scheme of thinking, I think you should see that as an entertainment, because everybody can say whatever they want on internet, right? And so they may not say it true, but of course we go on internet, irs.gov, we check on IRS information. So when you go for your serious business, you always should go for a reliable website. Not doing Google, then pull up something, support your thinking goes, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. No, that may not be. Your thinking may not be right. So make sure that you go for a reputable website And is communitycpa.com reputable? Absolutely yes, because we put out knowledges that we have done research, we have work experience, and we double triple check our words and to make sure we are right. But even if with time the knowledge can be wrong, so make sure you check on the timestamp. I do had one time a YouTuber emailed me saying that what I said was wrong and because it was not so. And I was really concerned. When I went back to look, I realized that he was citing a very old video, and at that time the government rule was so. Then later on the government changed the rule, so we have updated one, but he did not see the updated one, so he think that we were teaching it wrong. So be sensitive to the knowledge you have on the website. Now, let's talk real stuff. So what is estate? A lot of times, if you are like me, immigrant from China, a third country at the time, I wouldn't call them a third country anymore, but at the time when I moved to Canada, and really the system are so different, the word of estate is not something I can even translate into Chinese. There's no such a thing about estate because back home in China when I was a kid, it's communist owned everything, right? There's no private property. So there is no estate concept. So it's almost like when someone says to you a color blue, and if there is no concept for it, you don't know what blue is, right? In fact, the color blue is created vocabulary to define the certain colors. That's why as a human, we see all these colors because we have purple, pink, blue, we define them. Imagine if we didn't define them, then you won't see it. It's not there. So just like estate, if you don't have a concept of estate, you don't see them, you don't see the necessity to even plan for it. So let me use a very layman language to tell you what is estate. Estate is literally things that you have. So simple, things you have. But things you have may not be big enough that to trigger a tax. So in United States tax system, folks, you know we have different taxes, right? We have income tax, you most familiar with that. And the people, we file 1040, we pay income tax, and some people are low income, so they don't even pay income tax, they got tax credit back. They got refund or income tax credit, child tax credit, man, they have credit back. But those are related to income tax. Other than income tax, another familiar tax, you know that, is property tax. Of course, right? You pay property tax. Then what else? Sales tax. So those are very familiar one to you because they happen to you all the time. But what about estate tax? Yeah, just like income tax. The only difference is estate tax comes as soon as you die. It is a death tax. If you don't die, you don't have estate tax. So-called estate, it is whatever you accumulated in your lifetime is going to be put on the scale and the government gonna take a piece of it. But you may say that, no, I have uncles, aunt, my parents passed away, I didn't pay any estate tax. Well, then they did not have that big of an estate to subject to taxes, right? And the estate tax applies to 12 million and above today. But in 2004, folks, it's 1 million and above. I want to say that my clients, okay, I know my client is not everybody. My client, majority of them are businesses running business operation 1 million and above. The biggest one we have is over 200 million. The smallest one we have under 1 million. So our clients, by large, they all have more than 1 million estate. So I add up their home, I add up their car, I add up their jewelry, I add up their savings. Oh yeah, they have more than 1 million. If they die in 2004, that's not too far away, folks. 2004. And they would have paid estate tax. So, but then you probably wonder, oh, who is the one decide the base? Whether it's 1 million, 3 million, 11 million, 12 million, those are all the bases we had experienced since 2004. Who is deciding on that? The White House. Okay? The president. When Obama was the president and he wanted the wealthier pay more taxes, so he lowered the threshold so more people can pay more dead tax to the government. But Trump comes around, raised it back up to 11 million. And Biden came in, now he's in charge. He did not go back to revert that to lower like a lot of time the Democratic Party would do. Okay? Don't ask me why. And they just didn't. I'm not a politician, but I just know how that changes with the White House owner to be different. All right? So, with that said, folks, estate, it is a moving target. Okay? You can have a president come out and make it 1 million. Sure, it will upset a lot of people, but that is something the government controls. The Congress can decide. They can make that into law. Okay? So with that said, don't you want to be prepared? Do you want to pay estate tax? So let's talk about this. So estate tax, the concept of estate, and also, in this slide, I talked about some culture issue. So my parents, it is very difficult to talk about after you die, what we need to do. So a lot of older generation, especially the immigrant population, when they come from less developed country, so the estate is not issue. They don't have money, so they don't encounter those things. It's very hard for them to, re-examine their pot of money and it goes, I want to divide a certain way. They just don't have that habit. They never had that education. So you, as a grown-up adult, you had a business and your parents don't have money, but you do. And you also are not educated to know that is something you should do, which even though your parents didn't do, you need to do. Okay, let me simply, the next 2 slides, let me just explain to you what is estate tax, how that goes in our country. So currently, our estate tax is 18% to 40%, depends on the size of the estate. So applies to estate that are valued at more than 12.06 million in 2022 and 12.92 million in 2023. So let's say if today somebody died and you add up their property, the business value, I don't want to name anybody. I'm thinking these older gentlemen who are, running for presidents or in the White House. So if you add up their net worth, they're over 12.92 million. That means they will need to pay estate tax. So whether it's 18% and 40%, that depends on how much that is over. So it is taxable, right? So other than the federal government say, here is the bottom line, and I charge you up to 40%. So what about state? Because you obviously belongs to some state. So I have listed several states here because we have a lot of clients in those states. So I want to make it really super clear. So estate tax, when people talk about estate tax, normally they're addressing to the federal tax. At the state level, though, you also do need to know. For example, Iowa do not have estate tax. So you file estate tax, but Iowa has something called inheritance tax. So you might say that, oh, what's the difference? It's very different because estate tax, the amount of taxes belongs to the dead person. So it will come out of the estate, so remitted to the government. It is not the recipients. It is not the daughter, the son, or the recipients, the heirs to pay. It is the dead person's tax. That's why it's called the death tax, right? But inheritance tax is different. It is paid by the recipients. So in Iowa, and if you are not directly related to the person, of course, if it is my mom passed away, I'm the daughter, I got it, I don't pay anything in Iowa. But what if this lady passed away and he give that to the neighbor? Then the neighbor boy will be paying for it. Recipient pay for inheritance tax. So, of course, I am so at the surface, ladies and gentlemen. I am not in depth. But if you really have someone passed away, someone is going to get something from the person who passed away and are not related, oh man, you need to figure out how to pay inheritance tax. Yes. Of course, in Minnesota, it's different from Iowa, even though we're so related, even though we have branch in both states, but the practice of estate tax is different. So in Minnesota, it has an estate tax. And worst of all, Minnesota's estate tax has a very little threshold. Even if it is over, it ranges from 13% to 16%, sure not 40%, and charged to the estate of the deceased person. In 2020, if your estate over 3 million, and actually in 2023, 3 million is in 2023. If you over 3 million, and you would pay that. But Minnesota doesn't have inheritance tax, so it's paid out of the deceased person's estate. It is not for the recipients, right? And Minnesota also don't have gift tax. California, Texas, Florida has no estate, regardless of size. Okay? They also don't have inheritance tax. They also don't have gift tax. So now, does that give you a little clue why a lot of rich are there? Does that make sense? And you think President Trump moved to Mar-a-Lago to open up another White House is incidental? Maybe not. Maybe that's a good tax planning. You know, I heard him saying that Mar-a-Lago is a second White House. I literally heard that comment online. I thought it was so bizarre, really. Are you serious? Second White House? We can't afford second one. Our taxes would go up so badly. It will destroy the country. We can only afford one White House, in my opinion. But of course, the tax person, accountants are no fun, so they don't know what's going on. We just focus on numbers. So now, let's talk about, today, the topic I am going to allude you to a document called the Living Trust. I talk about estate, I talk about the rate, I talk about every state's different. It's because I want to connect that with a trust document. And this living trust is what I am trying to explain to you. A lot of clients came to us, goes, well, I have a friend who had a living trust, and he's not even doing as I am, so I wonder I should be doing a living trust. So it's such a fancy word, and it's such a unfamiliar territory. A lot of our small business owners are shied away from it. I want to expose it for you so you understand why this thing exists. So how is trust related to estate? I want you to remember that trust is no difference from another entity. Remember when you are a small business owner, you probably were running your business on sole proprietorship under Schedule C. So you file 1040 with this Schedule C, then you're done with your taxes. But when you went to the tax people, they were saying that, oh no, you need to elect your LLC to be S Corp, you need to form a C Corp, you need to get an LLC. They were giving you all these entities in the name of protecting you. Am I right? Of course they're right. We do a lot of this work here at Community CPA, but I am trying to give you the concept of trust. It is just a tool. It is a tool. And the tool does two things. Number one, save your income tax. Yes, if you use that properly, absolutely save your income tax. But the other side is a tool to save your estate tax or to save your estate. That part is what I'm focusing on. I'm not going to the income tax area. I am going to focus on how a trust entity can actually save your estate trouble. Why am I not saying estate taxes? Because it's not just that. It does two things. So look at my slides. How trust can help with estate. Two aspects. Management side and the tax liability side. So management side, it is even more heavy than the tax liability side. Because when you have an estate so big, over 12.9 million in 2023, you really need to start spinning your wheels on tax liability side for estate planning. There's many tools, I will touch on them, but I want you to know that the trust is a tool for managing your estate. And the management side, I listed three things, but I'm going to really dive into them for the following slides. Avoid probate lawyer involvement and the probate charge and the probate court. So have your living trust done and to avoid all of that. Living trust can provide a clear instruction on how to divide your wealth. Okay? And the living trust can also let someone you trust to handle your afterlife affairs. So that is management side. On the tax liability side, setting up routines to review estate threshold and come up with additional means to reduce taxable estate. Reduce taxable estate, yes. Because when you are doing this, obviously you're not dead yet. So you're actually just kind of looking at your estate and a plan, right? So you always want to keep your taxable low. You may be calculating your taxable estate right now is only 9 million. Then you're like, 12.9, I have enough room. I'm not worried about my estate to be taxable. I'm good. Are you good? Because the day you die, maybe your investment account has raised the value. And then maybe the property you think it is worth $1 million, but actually market price was $3 million. I mean, when you die, you don't have any control of market value. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, your estate base is calculated by the date you die, the market value, not by what you bought it for. With that said, and then the White House gonna change the president, and one came in and reduced your basis down to 3 million. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pay a lot of taxes. So your ongoing efforts is to reduce estate taxable income. This is what I wrote in here because I just want to remind you how fluid that is, how unpredictable that is, and you can't rely on what's happening today and to predict tomorrow. So I always say to folks that if you talk to a financial planner, they want you to save $1 saying that it will become $1 million after 60 years because they're projecting the future with a rate. That's their job. They need to project the future to make you have motivation today to not buy a cup of coffee. But tax people are not. Tax people are really focused on today. If I can save you $5 today, I am not going to think about you saving $50 when you retire. Forget it. We don't know how tax changes. With the presidential election going so divided, the right is far right, the left is far left, and the policy they implement, it is just day and night. That will reflect it on our taxes. So with that said, you want to make sure that you are always prepared. Always prepared. So this is how I would help you to prepare. I want you to build the living trust. I call that a house, to protect your estate. So here, on this slide, I told you from 2022 to 2010, estate tax applicable exclusion amount was 1 million in 2002, 1.5 million in 2004, 2 million in 2006, and in 2017 it was 5.4, 18, 11.4, today is 12.9. So changes, right? I just want to impress you with that. I don't want you to remember the numbers I said. I just want you to know it is fluid. It is not set in stone. So for that reason, it is really important to protect your estate, to make that non-taxable as much as possible. So now, build a house to protect your estate. That's what I am driving to. I want you to set up a living trust to protect your estate, family living trust. Family living trust is a central hub of your estate planning with provisions for the management, the control, the distribution of your asset during life and after death. Okay? Here are the content of living trust. So I'm giving you, sometimes people talk about living trust, or even if you visit professionals, the attorneys, they're talking in a very, very high level. And right here, this slide shows you what's all in the living trust. If you are going to set up a living trust, that is what you're going to have. You have this 5 item, and you must address all 5. If you meet someone who does living trust and didn't cover the 5 items, then it was not a complete one. It is not a wrong one. You don't have to complete anything to be right? It is not wrong, but this is a complete structure of everything that you need to have. So when you do living trust with community CPA, with our legal team, and we actually cover these areas 1 tab at a time. So you got 5 tabs in your plan, and we replenish, update each tab every year. So now, trust agreement, that's what the core thing comes in. You want to make changes, and then if you have situations at home, I will give you a couple examples at the end where you're gonna update the agreement to make sure that you cover your thought. Real estate, things you owe, business ownership, business that you run, and the bank investment, your stock account, and all of that, and your 401k retirement, and the last will and the personal property. Last will just means that the most recent will. And you could set a will today and have a living trust. Next year, 2023, you got a new baby. And don't forget to update, right? So you come in, you update your most recent will, so that way it is always current. Not too long ago, I had a client came in. She wasn't my client, but she got into estate issues, so she came over to me for a consultation service. And what happened is she has a brother. Of course, they're adults. They're already in their 50s. But the mom and dad has a living trust, but never updated for brother's name. So the brother literally is not on the living trust. Everything is hers. So because she is the oldest. And with that, she come to me and wanting to know now what's going to happen, because nothing is for brother. So, that could make a family dispute, right? The brother could sue, I guess. But of course, that was not the intention of the lady, our client. Our client is trying to figure out how not to go through the probate lawyer to fix this, because now she has to deal with trust side of things. She has to deal with the other side of no will and nothing, and the parents just forgot about their adult son in their living trust. So, but unfortunately, she has to deal with both sides. So that is how important that is. Once you have it, it's like once you have a baby, you need to take care of it. Once you adopted a puppy, you need to raise it, right? So with living trust, it's like your shadows. And every year when you do taxes, you should be sitting down with your attorney, estate attorney, or with your tax folks. In our firm, we actually do your tax planning. Then we update your living trust at the same time. So we have that built into our practice. People who has done living trust with community CPA would not be forgotten. We will force you to update your living trust. So it's never gonna leave you missing out your child by accident, right? And that is the item that we need to put into your living trust. So it's all listed here. You can literally take a screenshot if you think that is important to you and you want to make sure your living trust actually have all of these items, and you can do that. So my next slide is about putting in things to your trust. So a lot of times when you have a living trust, the next step what you need to do is to put in the deed, the titles into living trust. You see on the previous slides, when we talk about business ownership, you see how we have a declaration of ownership transfer to trust. So before you have a trust, and you just form the business under your name. For example, if you have a C corporation, you're probably the shareholder, so you just have your name on it, your social security name on it, your social security number on it. But once you set up a living trust, and that your name need to be transferred to the trust name need to be transferred under the ownership name. It doesn't change your taxes because it's a living trust. Remember I said it's your shadow, so that's why it's not a real person. It is not a real entity, so you don't have to file taxes, but it is your shadow. So you want to make sure that you put in, you make a declaration of ownership transfer to trust, right? And the same thing with the real estate. You see up on there real property, declaration of real property. You need to do quitclaim deed from your name to the trust. So those are what we call them, furnishing the trust with all the things that you have. Of course, you may say that, well, Ying, I have this engagement ring worth about $1 million, and I don't, how am I transferring that? So if you don't have a title on that, you put that on the last category of here, last will and the personal properties. So you can list your personal properties and then, name that ring. This ring gonna give to my son's wife, okay, at the wedding. So those kind of things will come through the trust documentation, and it will help you to clean up your system, your wealth, and make you feel very organized. Without that, you're accumulating, but you just don't know what's gonna happen when you are gone and who you want to take care of you. So these are the people who end up in the probate court and with probate lawyers, and they will charge you the fees. So all of these expenses you could have avoided, but you didn't. All right. So furnish your house and putting in things in your living trust at Community CPA, and we are not financial planners. And the reason we're not financial planners, folks, is not because I don't know. Financial planning is an integral part of our doing, and we refer a lot of clients to financial planners, especially if they are our client and we know them already, so we refer our client to them. But as a community CPA ourselves, our mentality is very different from financial planners. So we don't think like financial planners. I don't want you to put $1 away and make $1 million. If I see a $1 tax saving, I want you to claim it right now. I'm not gonna tell you that, oh, pay taxes, because you're gonna get more later. I never do that. I don't care how nice the future was painted by the financial planner, like Roth IRA. You don't get any tax benefit, folks. And you put in the Roth IRA, what does that mean? That just means that you pay taxes right now. And you hope that you make so much money in the future when you draw it out, the portion you gain has no taxes. I'm sorry, I do not share that sentiment with our clients. So we are not financial planning, so we tell people 5 things they must do, and in order them to be able to save their wealth. 5, life insurance. There's so many variety of life insurance, folks. And remember, on the estate side, and we were talking about estate tax, life insurance, a lot of time when you hear from financial planner, they were saying that it's non-taxable. Do you know what they're talking about? They're talking about non-taxable for income tax. Don't confuse it. But if you have a lot of wealth already and you bought life insurance for $3 million, you could be subject to estate tax because it's part of estate. But of course, there also life insurance doesn't include in your estate. That kind of, I wrote in the bottom, is irrevocable life insurance trust. That one stays outside of estate. So there's a lot of varieties about life insurance that you need to know in order to plan your estate tax or plan your exit of Earth, right? So I mentioned about key person insurance in the company. If the beneficiary is the company, then it belongs to the company accounting. So even if you die, the money goes to the company as income. So you will pay expense and you run your company. And the personal life insurance, disability policy with your family as a beneficiary. So those kind of life insurance policy is non-taxable on income tax. But if you die and they give you a bunch of proceeds, and those are part of your estate. Still have to look at how big your estate is to decide whether you're subject to estate tax. So what I'm saying here is when you have life insurance, don't hear non-taxable, oh, it's not, you're not gonna pay taxes. Don't get it confused with estate tax, income taxes versus estate tax. And the real property, commercial, residential, the name to change to transfer to trust, that's important, right? And the 401k retirement fund, that's an interesting one. So 401k, 401k, if you die, you have 401k, and your beneficiary, your daughter, your son, they take that over. When they withdraw that out, they pay income tax, right? They pay income tax. So here, I will say to you that, if you have an estate not high enough, and this money could be some money that you pull out, then your daughter and son don't have to pay taxes on their recipient side. So you can literally give them the money tax-free because you already paid estate tax, or because you're not that big, so estate is free. Okay, so these are the things you want to consider. 401k is a very interesting retirement, very interesting item inside of your estate planning. But you want to fund your estate, which means that if you have a 401k and you want to consider that 401k is part of your estate total. And that way, and you can move that into your living trust. And of course, your 401k itself has beneficiary that need to be consistent with what you have on your living trust, right? And of course, precious metal, gold, silver, and all of these things should be part of your estate and you want to put them under other personal property, knowing how to divide them by ounces, you know what I'm saying? And the stock market investment, those are also need to be transferred to living trust. How do you transfer that? And you just need to go to your brokerage account, have them put living trust on the title other than just your name and your social security number. Your living trust don't need to get a EIN number, don't need to have an ID because you are not dead yet. Normally, you would get a EIN number as soon as you are dead. So that will replace your social security number. But right now, you still use your social security number for living trust document. Just you need to add the title in there. All right. So now I want to kind of give you a taste of the household issue. So now you have a living trust, how you use it, right? So I have one example here, family-owned business. So in this family business, they have 3 children, okay? But only one of the child is really into the business, want to take over. But the other 2 kids don't want it. So your living trust can dictate how that works. So in your living trust, you can map out how to be fair. For example, to grant all the business asset over to one child and the remaining assets to the other children. So you have a business asset, you have other asset outside of the business, you could fairly divide it that way. And do everything you can today to avoid future inter-sibling fights that could put your next generation at risk. I'll tell you, I have seen a lot. I believe that I mentioned in my previous webinars related to estate, I have seen siblings in their 70s, fighting over estate, fighting over living trust that was not specifically named personal items. So the 3 seniors, all in their 70s, one in their 60s, fighting over it. And if I tell you the item, you will say, well, what the heck? But, it is sentimental and they want it. So it is over a kitchenware and that the parents were using. So the 3 siblings would not settle. So they go to court for that. So with that said, and that's how important for you as a parent or as the trustee to make sure that this kind of fight doesn't exist. Otherwise, defeated one of the purposes why we have a living trust, right? In your living trust, you can keep the business asset within the bloodline, okay? If a small business owner passed the business asset to their child, those assets will be jointly owned by the child and the child's future spouse. So you kind of just need to, this is where you literally have a field that you can detect, you can direct the future of your children, okay? Now, and if you are small, if your small business has multiple owners, like not just you have other people who are partner with you, then a buy and sell agreement is an essential part of your estate planning. Buy and sell agreement specifies who can buy the owner's share as a business under certain conditions with certain price. A buy and sell agreement can keep the business in the hands of existing owners, right? So these are the things you can implement into the living trust. Very important, especially if you have a very successful partnership and the partners is not related to you. Then, 2 partners need to come together and each one of your living trust need to have things related to what happened if the other one is gone. And so then you maybe acquire the other owner's share. Then here you go, you need to figure out the children and who is going to run what. It is really a what if game, but it is a very practical what if. Especially when you grow older, the game is more real. And when you are in your 70s, you visit your living trust, you better believe that it's going to come to life and in very short time. Because our average mortality rate, it is over above 70, but nobody lives to 170, right? So it is really, it is a what if game, but with a very close proximity to the future. The older you get, the closer it is. All right, succession plan is a business plan that will be used when you are not here. You run a successful business, and you're planning that, what if I die? And you have a child, but it's too young. And what kind of plan you have, that can be in your living trust. A succession plan is a written document that starts off much like a business plan. You have a business structure, the training needs, the compensation, and the key employee. All of these need to be in there. All right. And the other key factor for living trust, other than this is so helpful, this is brilliant, Ying, and I think I need to have one, but I want to warn you, once you get a living trust, it's not the end of the doing. It is actually the beginning of the doing. So you need to visit your house, visit your living trust often, and you need to bring your beneficiary or the people that related, or maybe your trustees, to the plan periodically. Okay, so for your children to know what's in the living trust. So that is a requirement. Like I told you, you don't want to end up forgetting something that you shouldn't forget. And but to make it more mechanical, so you can review that all the time. You don't need to just think about that 4 a.m. in the morning goes, oh yeah, I need to review my living trust. Then you get up and things got busy, you forgot. And 2 years later, 4 a.m. in the morning, you thought about it again. So you just push it off, like a lot of things in our life. But if you tie your living trust update with your annual tax planning, people who has a living trust, they all do tax planning with us or with somebody else. Our firm does a lot of tax planning from October to December. So our people who has a living trust with us, and that is our to-do. We mechanically bring it up. Maybe nothing happens, no change. That could be 1 minute conversation. But if there is change, then we update the plan. So this is where we say that often, and you need to bring others to revisit that. And the tax law changes regularly. That's one of the reasons you have to do this often thing. You can't sit on the living trust and thinking, I got it, okay? So what else to do? No, getting a living trust, like I said, is not the end of the doing. It is the beginning of the doing. It is a lifestyle change, small change, only require you to think about it when you do tax planning with community CPA. And the other important factor of living trust is to find your very important housekeeper. And this is something that a lot of times if you do a living trust with the attorney's office and you don't have other business to do with the same office, that is where disconnect will happen because there's no connection. But you maybe have a attorney's office who are the attorneys worked with your parents and now work with you. You have that relationship with them. Then what my recommendation would be to have the attorney office you have to book a every year appointment for 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. And put that on the person's calendar so it's become mechanical. So you don't forget, they don't forget, so things get done, right? And of course, I mentioned to you at a community CPA, it's easier for us because you file taxes every year. You have to see us. And when you come to see us and we update your living trust, that's so very convenient. But not really if you are working with someone just one-off. So I would never encourage folks to set up a living trust with some folks that you have never met before and you will never see them again. Forget it. You don't want that because that is totally waste of your money. You want to work with someone that can be there with you for a long run until you die. Think about it. So there are times I tell my folks that when you look for professional people like your tax preparer, your financial planner, depends on your age, right? And the best choice is for you to look for someone maybe about 10 years, 15 years older than you. The reason I say that is because they will grow older with you. So when you are really old, they still can work. But you don't want to find someone and identify someone who are much older than you and you're relying on all your finance with them, because when that person is gone, you are disconnected. We have clients coming to us, goes, my CPA died. I don't know what to do. Can you help? So, very understandable. So while you're looking for seniors because they have more experience, but you don't want to end up with just that senior. You want to look for a organization, just like community CPA. And you don't look just for me, you look for the entity. You look for this collective intelligence. And it's a company that existed for a long time. Excuse me. Right? You look for the company existed for a long time, so you can always rely on them. So that's why those big, wealthy, rich, they go for KPMG. That's the reliance. Whether they're old or not, and they're always going to be partner there, be able to do what they're doing. So with that thought with you, you want all of your longevity stuff that need to be with someone that has a organization behind them. You can work with me. I'm in my 50s, okay? If you're in your 20s, you work with me. I don't think when you in your 50s and I'll be around. But community CPA will be around. The knowledge will be around because we passed on, we have new partners, and we have new accountants coming in every day, all the time. So that is where you want to have that awareness and don't rely on a person. It is not the game when you are trying to plan your future, that far future, right? And how do, at community CPA, and we work with clients that we know for years. So that is one key. We really have clients. In fact, we have our third generation clients, many of them. I'm not sure we have our fourth generation because I'm not that old yet, but I know that clients are coming and the parents, the grandparents were here, then was the parents, now it's the kid. And update on law and regulation as part of peer review process for the entire firm. I just want to say that, CPA firm has regulations. We have professional conduct regulations. We also have quality service regulations. So when you work with a CPA firm, as long as we have CPAs on our title, we meet those professional standards. So we have peer review coming in and to make sure our quality of practice is here. So we continuously update our knowledge and the requirement to meet rules and regulation requirement, right? And we also have unlimited storage space and very, very secure cyberspace in United States. That's where we are. We never farm out our work to overseas. And you know how, there's so many companies will approach you. Oh, we can do your bookkeeping for $4 an hour. and we can take over all of your business. We have never ever thought of going that route because your information is important to me. I don't feel comfortable to give someone who only asked for $4 an hour. And the only way we can farm our data out is to advanced technology, not to human beings that is not even regulated in United States of America, not even to the human beings who are not our employees. So that is how far we require our data to be, and you have my promise, and your data is absolutely safe. Your generation data is absolutely safe because we keep them. We have all of our data from day one of the firm in 1998. So that is how far we save things, unlimited storage. And we work to build your living trust with you, never really stop. So I think that now you know why I think living trust is a tool that can help you to mitigate your troubles when you're not here, and also save your probate court fees and the struggles, and save your money, and also can implement ways to get you to below that threshold at all time. So with that said, I hope you got one or two ideas from me today. Am I right? I really wish that you could say yes and I can hear, but give me comments on my video if you like to hear more of what area, and I will prepare myself to be ready for you. And here is our contact information, and Catherine@communitycpa.com, a magical email address. You email, we hear you, because Catherine is absolutely amazing in terms of catering to your need and know what to do. And of course, I always say, do you know, we are the only CPA firm open 6 days a week. Yeah, we open from Monday to Saturday. And if you call us today, and we have people online, and we have people working in the office here in Des Moines at Bloomington, and so we're really special, aren't we? And I will see you again on Tuesday and always on Saturday. And I hope you enjoyed our education. Have fun and have a knowledgeable fun. And that is how we're gonna live our brilliant life. Be planned.